What's going on, YPM family? Welcome to the Your Perspective Matters podcast. I am your host, Ronald Wynn. On today, when I tell you personal growth is literally my thing, like I had a whole moment not that long ago. Right, and remember, you guys, my focus is to be a high caliber man. My focus is to be a lot more organized. So, what I want to do is make sure that I have my notes, and I want to stay true to that. Right, I want to make sure no matter what episode. On today, I have very minimal notes because I'm so inspired by what I just heard. Right, and for any of those that know me or have been around me, I am a avid note taker. I will take notes like crazy. So like my phone is full of notes. It's crazy. Um, in conversation and in a lot of the my not just meditation, but just in my one-on-ones with God or in my one-on-ones with listening to sermons or motivational videos or podcasts or things of that nature, I'm taking note. If I hear something and it gets to me, boom, I would take note of that thing, or God may be speaking to me in that moment, and then I have to write it down so that way I don't forget. Because the worst thing that you could do, excuse me, the worst thing that you can do is receive a word from God and forget it. Because many times that word is not, I wasn't even supposed to go here, but ooh, you never know what that word is for, right? Many times the word that God tells you might not necessarily be for you. You may be just the messenger and not the receiver. There's some times where you may need to be the receiver. There's other times where you may need to be both the messenger and the receiver. But you just have to be a student and ready to do what you need to do with the word. So I do that. I take those notes so that way I don't forget. So that way I can be able to bless someone else or use it to bless myself. Or, like I said, bless someone else and myself at the same time. So, on today, I was listening to a podcast, right? Shout out to the More Purpose podcast. And they was featuring my guy, Mike Todd. So, oh man, they are so powerful. Like when I tell you those three put together, that episode was so deep, right? And Mike Todd said something, but um, I so he was talking about marriage and relationship, right? They asked him about marriage and relationships, and he was giving them some examples. But I had a before I go there, I had an epiphany, or not an epiphany, but I just had a moment, like a revelation moment, like it just like a come to Jesus moment or something. I don't know, but I had a moment while I was driving earlier where I realized my evolution in relationships, right? In what is it? Not in non-platonic relationships, right? In relationships where I'm boyfriend and girlfriend, right? Romantic relationships. So I realized how much I didn't know in relationships. So taking you back, right? This is some good stuff, right? And I'm gonna be not just only transparent, but I've learned the difference between transparency and vulnerability, right? Transparency is the things that I want you to know. Vulnerability is giving you the things that you can potentially hurt me with, right? So everything that I give you, right, I'm gonna be transparent, but I'm also gonna be vulnerable where it's up to you if you're gonna hurt me with it or not, but I'm open, right? I'm open for the backlash, I'm open for whatever, right? Let's rock, right? So my desire of being in and I believe I spoke about this briefly on other episodes, but my desire of being in relationships, no, my desire of being in the relationship, started from when I was young, right? Like I I I loved the relationship and I wanted to be with one person for so long where I knew not to rush it. I knew that I needed to develop as a person, as an individual, as a male of my own, right? I needed to develop. So I'm not like most people where 14, 15, 16, 17, I was in relationships or multiple relationships and situationships and friends with benefits and all of that. I didn't get into a relationship until I was 18 because I needed to develop some things. Right back then, my mom had me basically on a leash where I couldn't even travel. I wasn't making no money, and a couple other things. But those were like the main two, was to be able to have access and to be able to have some money so that I can be able to do some things with the person that I want to be with. And I believe so heavily in God, right? I believe that whatever God says, or no, I believe that God can do whatever He wants, how He wants, when He wants, to who He wants, right? When He wants. I believe that. So I like, you can't tell me nothing. Even still till today, still believe that. And because I did believe that, because I believe that, I believe that also in my desire. My desire was, hey, I want to be with one woman for the rest of my life when I'm young, when I'm very young. I believe that. So there was nobody, no pastor, no friend, no whoever, neither of my parents could tell me that God can't allow that to be mine, or God can't fulfill that desire. You can't. Like, who are you to tell me that if God can do all? And I had to realize that some people's faith was so flimsy. Like, how can you say that God is a perfect God, but you can't trust Him in the thing that you desired? What's going on? You're doing something wrong, right? Your faith is not true. What it said, a faith not tested can't be trusted. So I can't trust your faith. So in that moment, I had to, I honored that desire and I said, you know what, I can do it. So my first ex, right, get with her, or meet her at church, get with her, we start dating, going out, cool, everything is amazing. And I was so honored at how things were going. I knew, you couldn't tell me nothing about this girl. I knew, I said, yo, she's the one. Oh, she's the one. But it was a moment where I said, dang, God, I asked you for this, and you fulfilled my desire. It would be rude of me or selfish of me if you fulfilled my desire to the complete capacity, and I didn't offer you nothing in exchange. I'm not saying everything has to be transactional, right? That's the beauty about God, is because He's going to give you things and fulfill things in your life for free. But because He does it, oh man, this is so good. This is touching me again. Because He's so good and because He loves you, or because it feels so good to you, you're like, I gotta give you something back. I don't want to just leave you empty-handed, So that's just the gratefulness in you. So during that time, I was a partier. I was drinking like crazy. Shout out to my homies in Brooklyn and everything, and in Job Corps. We was turned up every week. We was definitely turned up, and I was drinking like crazy. Like, you couldn't tell me nothing. Like, there was people that was drinking for years or whatever the case may be, and I was out drinking them, and it wasn't even intentionally. It was just that I was hanging out, and I didn't realize that I could drink with the best of them. So I was drinking, and I said, you know what? Boom, there it is. That's the thing that I gotta give up. I said, you know what, this is what I'm gonna offer you. Because it's cool when I go out. It's cool at the moment. I really don't like the taste many times anyway. So let me just eliminate. I'm not an alcoholic, right? So what I did was I went cold turkey. As much as I was drinking, I went to my homie crib in the Bronx, and he was a dancer. I used to go to his crib all the time, watch him dance, eat his mom food, and we drink bottles. Literally. Literally in that order. Well, eat food, watch him dance, and then drink. Literally in that order, every single time, right? Shout out to my bro, Pedro. He already know. That was the vibe every single day. Monday through Friday, sometimes even all throughout the weekend. And he was the one that actually got me into drinking. And we used to finish bottles. We had a whole bottle. What? You couldn't tell us nothing. We put it up there as trophies, like, yo, we conquered this. And then it gets so full, we have to throw them out and then redo it again. We just kept it was crazy. But I realized that's the thing that I needed. That was the biggest thing that was of significance to me in my life. So I said, if that's the thing that quote unquote gave me pleasure or satisfied me or whatever, then I need to give this up. So I gave it up cold turkey. Now, I'm not telling anybody to do anything cold turkey because it is definitely not easy, but I guess even then I've been a big risk taker. I'm willing to risk it all. That's just who I am because of the God I serve. I don't love anybody 99%. I'm going to give you 100. 100. And I'm going to be vulnerable to the point where, hey, I'm open for you to hurt me with whatever I give you. Right? So I gave it up cold turkey, and I was not drinking for a very long time because I was so deeply involved with this girl. And guess what? Signs were showing that she was not faithful. But I was so, and this is a nugget, right, that I wrote down. I said, sometimes we have a faith so high that we are naive to the reality. That was good, y'all. I don't know. If y'all ain't taking notes, then y'all crazy. Because what? I'm going to repeat it one more time. Sometimes we have a faith so high that we are naive to the reality, right? Believing in the things that are not seen, that's faith, right? That's cool. So I'm believing, God, this is it. This is my thing. I'm locked in with you. But there's some stuff that I have to do to even honor the faith. To make faith true, it has to be some action to it. It has to be some growth and some level of transformation. And that's what I was not getting at that time. I was so naive to the fact of my relationship that I didn't realize that I needed to grow. So I thought that I knew it all. I'm like, you know what? I come in expectancy of great things. I come in expectancy that she is the one. And I also realized that most people don't realize in relationships is that you are going to, you're going to face, what was the word I used earlier? You are going to face a lot of, not trauma, but you're going to face situations, right? For lack of words, right? You're going to face some situations in your relationships. Most people believe that they're not. Like, okay, the moment I go through something, that's it. That's not it. That's not it. You're actually going to face more in the relationship that is for you. And I was so naive to me believing that she was the one that I stayed in the relationship longer than what I was supposed to. If anybody feels that, it's gotta be at least 10,000 people, because that part right there, staying in somewhere longer than you were supposed to. And realizing it obviously after, right? In the moment, we don't realize it. But I was so head over heels, I was naive to the reality. Fast forward, we don't make it. We broke up a bunch of times, got back together a bunch of times, broke up, cool. But we just didn't make it. You couldn't tell me nothing about them. Telling you couldn't tell me nothing. But I say all this to say that I did not know that I needed to grow. I thought I was so open. I thought I was like, you know what? We're going to face trauma, or we're going to face situations, or we're going to face the darkness. I'm willing to do it. I need you to understand that in relationships, you are, the things that you're doing in the relationship now, it's exactly what you need to do, or is exactly where you needed to be to grow up, but not necessarily to the person. I'm sorry. Matter of fact, I'm not sorry, right? What they say, sorry, not sorry. Who you're with might not be who you need to be with. What you're feeling, that person is probably giving you everything that you desire, but it's just not who's called to you. They're just called to you in this moment. I'm so grateful that I've met her, because she's shown me, she's given me the platform and the ability to be able to love very deeply, very early. Very early. Like, for my first official relationship to go as smooth as it did, in terms of how I loved her through everything, that was such a beautiful thing. A beautiful thing. And then I went from relationship to relationship to relationship, and God was saying, hey, I know you felt like you wanted to, just be with one person for the rest of your life. And I commend you for it. I love you for it. But that's not going to happen in this case. It's not. Because when that relationship failed, I'm not going to say I neglected God or I questioned God, but I was just confused. I'm like, I trust in God, but there's something that I just don't know. And there's a lot of things at that time that I did not know. So I'm like, you know what? It wasn't a God failure, because he doesn't fail. If I believe in that, then I know that it cannot be that it was him. So what is it about me, or what am I not seeing? I was praying over and over and over and over, and God is saying, technically, right, I'm not finished with you yet. As great of a person as you are, as much of, hey, you're focused on loving like me. You're after my heart. I appreciate you, son. But you're not there yet. Because the one that I have for you is going to need a higher level. Oh, man. The one I have for you, I'm also pruning her. I'm also molding her. I'm also dealing with some things with her as well. There's some developing in her as well. Your blessing is not ready, but hers isn't either. So it'll be what's the word? It'll be not even naive, but it'll be imperfect of God for him to prepare one side of the blessing and not prepare the other. Whoo, that's so good. I hope somebody felt that. As he was preparing her as the blessing for me, he's preparing me as the blessing for her. So I went through relationship after relationship after relationship, right? I've had, 5 relationships now in total. And each one has taught me a valuable thing for the next. Oh man, this is so good. Like I didn't even know I was gonna go here. This wasn't even a topic, y'all. This wasn't, but I had to get this out because I believe somebody needs to hear this. That just because you think that the person is going well and everything, we have to keep in mind that people are seasonal, or some people might be seasonal. But the information that we gain from the situation is not. So there was some developing. I had to go from boy to man. I had to go from level 1 to level 10. Where I am now is far greater and better than who I was before. Oh man. I need you to understand, and oh, oh, there's a lyrics to this song that says, I'm not my mistakes. I'm not who I was, but I am yours, all yours. I'm not my mistakes. I'm not who I was, but I am yours, all yours. As I continue to develop in God, as I continue to honor my relationship with Him, Jesus, God, the Holy Trinity, right? As I continue to pursue more of Him, He shows me more of me. The problem that we have in relationships is that we're so focused on wanting and expecting all these things from other people, and we have yet to develop. There's this single show that I see on Instagram, which is very interesting because it's a lot of specifically women, right? Men just be like, I don't know, men don't be too crazy in it. I mean, men, they do, but it's the women that just, they're so, I guess it's a generational thing where they're focused on having this high caliber man and not being a high caliber woman. Man. And it goes both ways, right? The man has to be high caliber if he wants to even be in the presence of a high caliber woman. Because the difference between, well, I think when you are a high caliber person, you don't take no mess, man or woman. I think with high caliber people, we're not focused on just allowing or just letting anyone into our space. We're not even going to give you the time to waste our time. That's the thing. So there is a level of discernment that has to be grown for you to be at a high caliber. Because you're not just going to settle. You know 10 times over your worth. But we have to become high caliber people if we want to receive high caliber blessings. You gotta keep that in mind. That is literally the focus that I need you to understand. Like, there was some developing in my life. I've grown where I'm like, yo, okay. Like, okay, I get over finally my first relationship. Boom. Then I get into my next relationship, which allowed me to go in with the mindset of, hey, I'm able to do this. My first relationship taught me, hey, I'm able to love strong with my whole heart. My second relationship taught me I'm able to do it after hurt. I wasn't even going to go here. This wasn't even it. But somebody needs to hear this, right? My second relationship was what had taught me, hey, I can love again after heartbreak. I can start over again and come in running and not just walking. I need somebody to understand this. Your last relationship probably have hurt you to the core. You might have had kids with this person. That person might have taken your V card. That person might have you might have lived with that person before. Whatever the case may be, you probably went through the trenches with that person and grown out, and now you're in a better place. But it just didn't work out. I need you to understand that just because it doesn't work out doesn't mean that love won't ever want you anymore. Love wants you. Love absolutely wants you. I know there's some people on here that's probably like, you know what, this is not what I'm here. I could care less. I'm focused on my business, da 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 da. But regardless of who you are, love still wants you. Regardless of what your desires are or anything, oh man, it's a different level when you, number one, are going after love. And number two, not just going after love, but being able to receive it. Because we could say we want it, but we still, those same walls that we built up to protect us from the things that are not good for us is still there. This is so good. The walls that you build up to protect you from things that aren't good for you are the same walls you built up that's keeping the things that are good for you out. The same walls. So in order for you to fully receive what it is, you have to risk getting hurt. Hello. You gotta risk getting hurt. And that's one of the things that I go into every relationship. Understanding. Excuse me. And in anything I do, there is a potential that this may not work. There is a potential that, hey, I'm going to tell you that whatever the case, right? I'm going to be vulnerable with you about a situation or about, my past situation or whatever. And you have the option of being able to throw it back at me. Some people are, not some, there's many people actually, are so focused on, hey, I don't want to give you ammunition to shoot me with. Right? What's that quote? Don't give a person ammunition to shoot you with. That's cool. But in his word, it says that the weapons may be formed, but they won't prosper. So even if I slip up and give you the bullets to shoot me with, you put it in your gun, load it up, and you're ready to shoot me, boom, and they all go blank. Why is that? That's the favor of God. That's the understanding that it's formed, right? But it's not going to prosper. Oh, man. Woo! The other part of that is understanding that when it talks about it's not going to prosper, you give them the bullets, they put it in their gun, they shoot you, but it actually does damage. You thinking that the weapons may not prosper, meaning that I'm not going to get shot. Sometimes you gotta get shot. But it's not going to accomplish the thing. It's not going to accomplish the thing that it wants to. But in Isaiah 55:11, it says that everything that I say, everything that God says that he wants to accomplish will be accomplished. It's not going to return empty-handed. It's not going to return void. It's going to be done. If I said it, then it shall be. If I said it, then it shall be. I need you to understand to have a fresh perspective. If I could do anything on any of these calls, my focus is to give you a fresh perspective. Because number one, you can love again. Right? After my after my first relationship, I still went in with being able to love. I still went in with being able to love. My what is it? Let me see. My third relationship, okay, my third relationship was deep. Because my third relationship taught me that I could really, so what I felt in my first one, I felt times 10 in my third relationship. And I'm glad I'm saying it like this because nobody knows who they are, right? It doesn't matter who listens to this, they don't know who they are. I'm keeping this low key. But my third relationship taught me that I could love wholeheartedly, very quickly. Like when we talk about exceedingly abundantly, above all we can ask or think, man. But it also taught me, right, in the same breath, taught me two things. She was also the youngest person that I have dated. Mm-hmm. I had this thing of you gotta be, what is it, 3 years older than me max, and 2 years younger than me max. Right? That's my dating range. It was anywhere in that. If you my age, cool. But if you are older than me, 3 max. Younger than me, 2 max. That's it. And she's, I think, 6 years, 6 or 7 years younger than me. But it wasn't. She was beautiful, right? But it wasn't her looks that got me. Because when I first was talking to her, I wasn't even focused on any of that. I wasn't focused on trying to talk to her and get in her DMs. I knew that we was a part of I found out we was a part of a similar company, and I was like, yo, we gotta lock in. Like, nah, let's connect me, So I get connected with her instantly in her DMs, not on some, hey, I want to be no. I was instantly like, hey, what's going on? Like on I felt more of like in that season I was not looking for relationships at all. There was no I wasn't looking for none of that. And she brought such a light because I couldn't believe how intellectual she was. I couldn't believe how what's the word? She was an entrepreneur, right? She's been hustling. Let me see. I want to say like she's been hustling maybe, if not the same amount of time as I have, probably longer, right? But it's a different caliber. I could go on and on, but she was just a top tier, right? Super top tier, and I didn't realize that I was destroying, and this was what God was showing me, is that had I stuck to my small window of what I wanted, I wouldn't have been able to receive her. One of the things that I also need you to understand is that sometimes what you desire is this, but what God wants you to desire is far 10 times more than what you could expect. Far better than what you have. Like, you seen the meme or the picture or whatever on the internet where you have the child and then God. And God is on one knee. The child is giving him like, hey, I want to hold this teddy bear, basically, right? The teddy bear got one eye hanging out and the bitten ear and arm is cut off or whatever, right? It's all messed up, but you want to hold on to that thing. But God has something, a bigger, brand new, more colorful bear for the child, but the child wants to hold on to what it has right now. And God is saying, I have something better. You just give me what you have. Get it, it's okay. I know you're gonna be without it, but give me what you have right now in your hands. God has something far greater than what. Like, I want you to think. What is your greatest level of achievement? What is the best thing? What is your best blessing that you feel? I need you to understand God is going to 10x, 100x, 1000x that completely. Right? In His Word it says exceedingly, abundantly, above all you could ever ask or think. In His Word He also says, eyes have not seen and ears have not heard. So something you've never seen before, something you've never heard before, right? You're going to have, your blessing is a part of a miracle. Because miracles only happen, I was not supposed to give you this, Jim, but miracles only happens, matter of fact, I'm going to give you one better, because I want to make sure that I give you the right, okay. In order for the miracle to happen, there must be a sign of disbelief or lowered expectation. In order for the miracle to happen, there must be a sign of disbelief. So you have to not believe it. Like, nah, I don't think that's going to really happen for me. That's not really going to work. God, you're not going to give me that. Right? You're going to give me something, but you're not, nah, this is not going to work. So you got to disbelieve that it's just not going to happen. Right? But then the miracle happens, boom. And then on the other side, you expect it. God, you're going to do something great, but I don't think you're going to do that great. Like, I'm just going to, when you have lowered expectation, you settle. But when the miracle happens, it exceeds your expectations, exceedingly abundantly, above all you can ever ask or think. This belief is, hey, eyes haven't seen, ears haven't heard. So you know that there is no evidence that it'll ever happen. But he's going to do it because it's the miracle. Your blessing your blessing is the miracle. So just because you don't really believe it doesn't mean that you cannot obtain it. Oh my God, this is going against culture and whatever words some of us might have heard. Like, okay, just because we believe it, if we believe it, we'll be able to achieve it. But the miracle only happens when you don't believe it. The miracle only shows up when you lower the expectation. Oh man, this is so good. Family. Oh man, that's touching my heart. I don't know about y'all. That's touching my heart, right? And then in that relationship, it ended very soon. It ended super quick, right? So in the same breath of me being able to date somebody that's super younger than me, my next relationship was somebody that was way older than me. So I broke the barrier of 2 years younger than me. And then my next relationship, I broke the barrier of someone was it 3 years older than me, right? And in that one was something super deep, right? And some of you are probably gonna know who she is, but it's alright, right? She was somebody that she came with some weight, right? And what I mean by weight is she came with kids, right? And contrary to our dating, to our dating culture, right? What culture deems as dateable. Oh, I'm coming to somebody's house because we set this list. Oh man, we set this list of expectations or things that people gotta have and don't have, and we are actually canceling out our blessing. Because the thing that God taught me in that relationship is loving regardless of what they came with. Now, I've done it before, but not to this capacity. Because I've never dated. I've talked to some people with kids before, but never dated or was in a full-blown relationship with somebody that had kids before. And I was able to love her kids like I did not expect that I was going to be able to. I knew I would have been able to love her. I didn't think I was going to be able to love her kids at the level that I did quickly. And I knew it was going to grow over time, but we hit it off. Like, me and her kids were lit. What? I felt so at peace because one of the things I also wanted to do was, as I was growing, was, hey, I want to start my family. And I didn't even need to have any kids of my own for me to even have kids during that time. And I felt like, oh wow, she came with 3 blessings. That's freaking lit. I'm like, yo, I even though I still wanted my own, but I was already getting that experience of, hey, this is what parenting looks like, right? Them little ones eat. Them little ones eat. When I tell you, we just fill up the fridge and everything, stock up the whole crib, and then by evening time, majority of everything is gone, if not completely empty, right? So oh man, I understand the stress of what parents have to go through um, when it comes to replenishing and feeding your children, especially at three, when there's 3 of them, right? And they was all different ages during that time. There was what 3, 6, and 12 during that time, right? They're older now, but during that time there was 3, 6, and 12. So, and it was a beautiful blessing because, so I had the middle child, right? The 6-year-old, we hit it off. We was boom locked in. I had the older child and the younger child were the 2 that I had difficulty with because the older child stayed to herself and she doesn't let anybody in her space if she's not comfortable. She will not talk to you if she's not comfortable, right? She will not even, none of that. She's not going to give you no time of day. And that's how it was in the beginning. But then I saw her opening up because she saw how I was loving on her, or better yet, she saw how I was loving on her parent. I need you guys to understand, and I told this to somebody recently that, and this is some dating advice, right, that I think somebody needs to hear, that if you want to know who's for you, right, this is one of the ways, right, outside of God, because there's God that's going to let you know this person is for you. But God is not going to, well, I can't fully speak for God. I believe that God is not going to allow somebody to be for you if they are not willing to take on everything that you come with. Keep in mind that the person that is for you might not be ready in the moment, and that's okay. You can't get mad that because of what you're bringing, that somebody else is not ready for. You can't get mad at that, right? You just got to say, you know what? Cool. You got some growing to do. That's fine. But you don't want to throw it away because you never know who's for you. The person that's for you will receive you and all you come with. If you have a mole that is super big or whatnot, if you got gap teeth, if you have ADHD, if you have a 6 toes on 1 foot, if there's going to be some things that you come with. If you have a crazy baby daddy or 2 or 3, if you have 16 kids, there's somebody that's praying for you. They like my passenger, right? And we hit it off. We were so cool. We connected. We about to do a business deal, business venture, or I'm just going to help her make that happen, right? But she has dang, I have a brain fart, man. But she has kids of her own. And one thing that stops her from dating is she believed that, you know what, people aren't going to want me. Like, it's really over until all my kids are out the house, maybe, right? But that's not true. I told her, and I know some men that are like this, right? She has, and I didn't really want to get in her business, but she has quite a few kids. I'm going to say that, right? She has a lot of kids. And there's some men that are like, I pray to have 11 kids. That's what I want. I want to, matter of fact, excuse me, my father was one of those people. he wants to have or wanted, right, very young or however old he that was a thing for him. He wanted to have all these kids and whatnot, get married and all of that, and then have just millions of kids. Right? I don't know why he want to have that many kids. That's crazy. But whatever. So, but there's some men out here that are like, hey, there's no the women that I've encountered don't have the same desire that I have. The women that I encountered don't even receive me as much. Or matter of fact, they just might not even want kids. But you out here walking as his blessing. And the same way you are protecting it, that same wall that you built up to protect yourself from people, from the hurt that you didn't want to have, is the same wall that's built up that is blocking your blessing. Because your blessing is trying to come in. The man is praying for you, but you still have this wall up. That's why there has to be a transformation on both sides, a growing, a personal development on both sides of the blessing. Not just the man only, but the woman. Not just the woman only, but the man. Because she has to be open to be able to receive. And he has to keep on believing that what he asked for will come true. And sometimes it may not come the way you want it. Because the man, right, and this situation, right, and I don't know who was for her, but if she got all these kids, the man is like, yo, I can't wait to be with somebody and then have all these kids. His expectation is, hey, I'm going to get her pregnant this many amount of times, or we're going to have this many amount of kids together. But she's already coming with it. That was my situation, right? With my situation, with my ex, she came with kids already, and she didn't come with just a small one. No. 3, 6, and 12. That's a pretty big gap. Pretty big gap, right? So they're at different ages and different wavelengths of time. So there's a lot of development that I need to be able to develop as even a person to even be there, to be eligible there, right? And that was what I was growing into, which was so amazing. But I was able to receive her. Many of us, we're not able to even receive. We're blocking it out and saying, you know what, I'm doing this for my own protection, but can I tell you something? As an individual, or as you being a parent, or as you being a guardian, or someone that is over someone else, or whatever, right? You cannot protect. That is not your job. Your job is to have boundaries, yes. Your job is to have standards, yes. But your job is not the protection. Because if your job was the protection, then in his word, he would say that he wouldn't say that the weapons would be formed. He would be like, oh, no, it's not going to, it's not. He's going to take that scripture out, but the weapons will be formed. So you can't protect yourself from that. There is something called the inevitable that just going to happen. You cannot stop that. Instead of you focusing on what you cannot stop, how about focusing on dealing with what will actually happen? Because it's not about what happens to you, it's about what you do with what happens to you. So now we can have a fresh perspective, and we understand what our responsibilities are now. Now we understand what our what our abilities or what our focus is, what our end goals are. Trust and believe it changes in different seasons, right? And I say all this to say, I had to have an evolution of relationships. As much as I was in these relationships and involved in these relationships, it's taught me what I did not know. How much I did not know. And I'm so grateful that I have grown to be where I'm at now. Like the level of faith and love that I have, specifically for myself, outpours to others every single time. Man, I didn't even go through any of my other stuff, but this was a venting moment for myself. I was transparent, so I was able to let you know what I wanted you to know, and I was also vulnerable because there's some things that some people might have some opinions on, right? Maybe not so good ones. That doesn't affect me. I'm here for healing for myself because I want some healing for other people. I'm here to make myself uncomfortable and speak on some things so that way somebody else, right? If you treat people the way you want to be treated, right? So if I treat you with, hey, you got to be uncomfortable, I want you to treat me that way. Because if uncomfortability breeds growth, if I do it to you and you grow, you're going to do it to me and I grow. So I say all that to say I love you guys. I appreciate you for listening to my TED Talk. I appreciate you listening to this podcast and for locking in. And this is what we do, right? This was just a moment that I believe I needed to share. I was rushing home. Let me tell you, I almost ran a red light intentionally because I wanted to. It was just oozing out of me, and I needed to give it to you. I needed to give this to you. So, without further ado, I appreciate you guys for joining the Your Perspective Matters podcast, right? This is a personal growth podcast where we are focused on uncomfortability. Why? Because uncomfortability breeds growth. You cannot grow if you are not made uncomfortable. So, family, your perspective matters. I'll see you on the next episode. If you have not done it yet, I need you to subscribe to the YouTube podcast, which is YPM Space Pod. On YouTube is YPM Space Pod. On Spotify, on Google Podcasts and Apple Podcasts and everything else that's Audible, it's Your Perspective Matters. Your Perspective Matters. On Instagram, if you want to share how you feel or if you want to continue this conversation intimately, let's do that. My DMs are open. Just _ Your Perspective Matters on Instagram. And I'll see you on the next episode, family.